Hi, everyone. A very good morning, afternoon, evening, and a warm welcome to everyone joining from different parts of the world. My name is Jatin Yadav, and I'm currently the Regional Innovation Hubs Manager at the USAID Secretariat of Water and Energy for Food program. Past 4 years, I've also been associated as a vendor consultant to the Securing Water for Food TA facility. I'll be the moderator of today's Lessons Learned series session titled From Theory to Practice, the Gender Integration Journey of SWFF Innovators. And during this session, we have with us 5 SWFF innovators from round 3 and 4 who will shed some light on their experiences and their journey in the last 3 to 4 years while they were part of the Securing Water for Food program. Before introducing them and going to them for a larger panel discussion, I think I'll just take you through and refresh the journey of Securing Water for Food as a program on related to gender integration. Next slide, please. Great. So as you can see, I think in 2014-15, gender as a topic was integrated at the strategic level, where we incorporated gender-specific targets. The SWFF Technical Assistance Facility includes, for the first time, gender in approved menu of services. SWFF adds a gender specialist to IIAC, which was the innovator selection and advisory body, so that any innovator coming in is also measured on the level of gender integration and their intention towards it. And also the site visits became more proactive on reporting, where we made it a point that women customers / users are included in all the surveys and reports that we prepare. Based on those lessons learned, I think 16-17 was when the program started implementing a lot of these activities, and you can see there was the CEDA had, which was one of the donors of the program, funded analysis of gender perspective, which gave us the learning and carved out specific intervention that at a program level that we should have done. And hence, you can see that we required the gender component in all technical assistance facility acceleration scope of work. So this was a contextualized assignment being delivered by a vendor consultant for each of the SWFF innovators. And in each of the assignment, there had to be a level of gender integrated as and where relevant to the local context of the innovator. SWFF Technical Assistance Facility started offering innovator contextualized gender supports. So these were specific focused 2 to 3 month assignment on how to increase gender integration in the innovator's business model, be it on as a customer, user, partners, and at an ecosystem level, how to promote that part. SWFF also released Missing Markets report, which served as a workbook for innovator and gave them specific actionable recommendation with respect to their region of operation on how to adopt specific strategies for scaling their products to women. And that was when SWFF also started receiving high satisfaction score on gender integration from innovator when we took feedback. In 2018 and beyond, it became a regular practice where we continued innovator contextualized gender support rather than a general support. And also keeping in mind the lessons learned, we had renewed focus on practical recommendations as well as reporting on semi-annual and annual basis on gender metrics. Next slide, please. And this is one of the main approaches that I, as a vendor consultant, followed with most of the innovator, and somewhat reflects the program's approach. I think 2 principles that we followed at a higher level is, one is no exclusion principle, where the point was whenever we are working as an assignment with any innovator, reflect and analyze about all the barriers that could be contributing to the exclusion of women from innovator's business model. And those were 3 levels. One is, are women excluded because of your product or service model? If that is the case, then make a note of it. Second level was, are women excluded because the way that the engagement model has been set up by the innovator. And third level, are women excluded because of the larger ecosystem and socio-cultural factors. At least by dividing these into these parts, it was evident that you can then target the intervention for innovator to make a conscious effort. And hence came the second point, which was conscious inclusion principle, which is where make conscious effort to collect data and views from women customers, right? It's not that any survey is being done, any market research is being done, have a proper representation so that the voice of women customers / users are integrated. Then we used to list all possible ways with respect to the 3 levels that I just talked about, and make practical recommendation. And I think what worked was not give only long-term strategies, but give a very small short-term strategies, run a small pilot. If the pilot is successful, replicate and scale, and then if the results show. If the results don't show, then pivot and then try something else. And hence, as a last scale, we used to assign targets, and the recommendation was to monitor them at least on a quarterly basis, so that gender as a topic runs in the culture of the company. So I think with this, I'll just stop, because I think we have 5 different innovators who will bring different perspectives, and they are the ones who have actually done this on field. And I think we'll open it for them to speak. Next slide, please. So I think first part of the panel discussion is each of the 5 innovators will introduce themselves and speak for 5 minutes. And majorly they'll be talking about what does gender integration mean to them and their organization, and how have they practically integrated gender in spite of having barriers, and how have they been able to overcome the barriers. So I think with that, I'll first turn over to Dr. Mathoni from Ithiki to provide a context.
Thank you very much, Jatin, and good day to everyone. I'll just give some context of the business we do, so that when I answer the questions, it's easier to understand where I'm coming from. We are into predicting droughts for small-scale farmers using indigenous knowledge, which we combine with modern science. That requires that we collect on daily basis the indicators the farmers are observing in the farm, and then use that to tell them things like when should you plant and so on. So when it comes to gender for us, then you will notice that it's an issue of make or break the business, because most of the small-scale farmers, our setting is in Africa in 3 countries, South Africa, Mozambique, and Kenya. Which means that 70% of our customers happen to be women. I'm not saying gender is about women, but I'll explain in a moment. So how do we go about this? Because it could have broken us or made us successful. The first thing we did is that when we build the solution, we incorporated gender issues from day one. So when the solution was ready, then it was ready for both gender. What I mean by that is that we used technologies such as design science to iterate both with men and women, so that we catered for all of them, because our solution mostly runs on mobile phone as a smart app. The second thing we've done is we have a more of a bottom-up approach to recruit farmers. So in that team, we ensure that we have both men and women, because sometimes it's easier for a woman to approach a woman customer, and it's also easier the other way around. If it's a man, it's easier in the villages for a man to approach fellow men and recruit them. And the third thing we've done is that we've kept the numbers. So constantly we monitor when the numbers come in, what is the recruitment rate? Do we have more men or more women? And we listen very actively, because some little complaint from one customer based on gender issues could affect our business. But it's not been a smooth ride. We had challenges along the way. The main one for us has been the issue of patriarchy, because bigger decisions are made by men. So if a lady wants to plant on a particular piece of land, she may need to consult her husband, for instance, or at the point where they need to subscribe to a service, because our service subscription on an annual basis, again, she may need to consult her husband. So sometimes that has delayed our recruitment process. But with monitoring real time, we've been able to address those problems as they arise. The second one is digital literacy. Interestingly, something we were not prepared for. It happens that there are more men than women who can use the smartphones. So we want to offer more training to the women so that at least they can be able to maneuver with our products. And the last one for us has been the fact that the society is cultural, is different. For example, when we go to Mozambique, in the rural areas, you have to recognize their culture. You can't go there wearing jeans, for instance. And that has been difficult for us, but then we learn on the job and know that the day I'm going to that village, I must wear a long dress so that I look presentable or I fit into the culture. So those have been our challenges, but like I've said, we managed to go around them and solve most of them. And we do have a success story. Thank you.
Thank you, Mathoni. Mr. Rajkumar from Waste, audio.
Hello, everyone, and this is Rajkumar from India, the Nilgiris, and we've been. Firstly, I'd like to thank USAID and SWFF for giving us this opportunity to speak on this very interesting topic of gender integration, especially in our SWFF Circular Economy and Sanitation for Agriculture project. There have been two significant innovations in this whole challenge or intervention. The first one is the recycling of grey and black water, the grey water, and then the other one is the black water. And also it so happens that we have got two business models also. One is on the agri business and the other one is on the co-compost business. Very interesting thing is actually under the interventions in this securing water for food focused on the farming community and with a conscious effort by recognizing the role of women in agriculture. So the focus was how best could we get the women involved in this whole innovations as well as in the business models. Therefore, it was not only aimed at promoting involvement of women in the innovations of grey and black water adoption, but also in building the skills and capacities of the women farmers to manage the agriculture as a business entity. Now, this is something which is coming in a big way in India itself, looking at agriculture as a very important business activity. And also this led us to institutionalizing the women into farmers, women farmers producer companies, and also the women green workers who have been involved in the whole waste management for the production of co-compost as a social enterprise, and they are running it as a partnership firm right now. And it also implies in bringing about a change in the mindset of the male farmers. See, that's a very important thing which we see, to recognize that the women play an equally important role in the whole farming operations and also thereby contribute to the well-being of the family members. Many challenges are there. We have been facing a lot of challenges, but one thing I must say that in India, because I'm talking on the perspective of the Indian context, where there's been a significant change in the whole gender inclusion in various development aspects, especially from 2000 onwards for the past 2 decades. Due to the new intervention of the self-help group movement, which has really given us a good foundation to work on. And the challenges, of course, has been in trying to motivate the women to actively participate in the whole planned activities, also in trying to adopt the innovation, then build confidence among them to manage the agribusiness initiative as well as the social enterprise, instill the courage among the women to encourage them to build the skills and move on. Helping these enterprises to organically link with other institutions like the financial and resource institutions also have been a very major challenge for us. And then the change in the mindset of all the different institutions of how they look at the whole women-led enterprises. And also another important challenge has been in the engagement of the community-based entities, which have been very limited. And the most important thing, what we feel, is also the cultural and social barriers which hinder the women's participation in the projects. I will go a little further when I will talk about a little in depth on the women farmers producer companies and also the women's enterprise, the social enterprise. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mr. Rajkumar. And over to you, Lan.
Hello, everyone. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the perspective of gender integration from the Vietnam perspective, where Mimosa Tech is operating. We are developing Internet of Things solutions to help farmers across Vietnam. And when we talk about gender issues, it would be beneficial for me to share with you the context of gender issues in Vietnam. Even though there's still certain traditional mindset or expectations about how the Vietnamese women or girls should be, but luckily, in general, nowadays, most of the Vietnamese girls and women have the equal opportunities of education or healthcare and career in Vietnam. As a result, the gender integration has become a natural outcomes of our company's core values. For instance, we aspire to create the equal opportunities for both genders. We select the employees and reward them based on their capacity and not based on their genders. We are in a technology domain, which is usually male dominated. However, the female employees make up about 40% of our workforce, and they take a roles in different levels, junior levels, managerial levels, and the C-level as well. In general, our female employees tend to excel in areas such as sales, administration, finance management, and our customer support. Our male employees often excel in engineering, deployment, or production, which are usually the general trends of the genders in the general workforce. And we observe that in our organizations, both genders collaborate and create the synergies for the company's operations. So we believe that the gender integration, the social context in Vietnam and culture in Vietnam make it easier for us to integrate gender into our company way of doing things and our business model. And for the challenge that we see when we employ female employees is that we need to plan backup personnel when the female employees need to take maternity leaves, or for the female or the male employees with young children. We fully support the employees' decision to become mothers or fathers. We think it's very necessary, very critical for the development of the next generations. If all the organizations can create a chance for the employees to make the family decision to become mothers or fathers, we believe that, and we see as a result, when we provide that opportunities for the employees, then they become more attached to the company. They appreciate those policies. We think that when we treat the employees with empathy, we can receive the loyalty and the contribution from our employees. In terms of our customer base, so I would like to share with you certain dynamics roles of the men and women in Vietnam. In certain areas, the women make financial decisions in the family. However, still most of the area, the men are the ones to make decisions in the farming activities, especially in the rural areas. I think the reason being is that the manual farming is mainly labor intensive. It requires a lot of physical strength, which is usually the barrier of the women. So in certain area, we see that the female farming worker receive less pay than the male farming worker, because people perceive that the female work provide less results than the men. So our solution is Internet of Things. So we provide the technology that the farmers can automate or can control the farms remotely, reduce the labor required. So now even the women can operate the farms remotely or with much more ease. So that's why we believe that the technology helps the women to overcome that barrier of physical strength, which is often required in farming, for them to participate in the farming or to start their farming business. And we are not only do this by ourselves, we collaborate with other NGOs in Vietnam that are focused on working with the women, so that we can integrate our technology into the NGOs activities with the women to bring our technology to more women in Vietnam.
Thanks, Lan. Vianney, you're up next.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Basically, I represent Greenheat. At Greenheat, we have two products. We make biogas systems. Biogas systems take in organic waste and they give energy, that's biogas. And then we also make briquettes. So basically, we in the initial stages when we started up the company, we didn't have a clear strategy on how to do gender integration, because our focus was to get the technology out to the potential users. But along the way, we realized that as much as we were solving the energy problem, we were creating a water requirement, a water problem. Biogas systems, for those of you who may not know about the biogas system, for every 1 kilogram of waste, it's required to take in 1 liter of water. So it meant as we were putting up more biogas systems, we were increasing the demand for water for a biogas system. So we realized that at the household level, most of our customers are household level. So at the household level, most of the chores at the household are done by women. So it meant that with our intervention, we would do which would take away the burden of collecting firewood. But on the other hand, our technology was creating a burden of collecting water. So how do we reduce water required for the system so that we don't increase additional work for a woman who is doing the chores at home? So we came up with a technology that reduces the need for water, which technology was basically whenever a biogas system generates gas, at the end of the day, we get a slurry, it's liquid, we filter off the slurry back into the digester. That way we don't need to collect fresh water, and then the fresh water can be used for farming. So out of that innovation of using the slurry separation technology, we realized that 80% of the burden of operating a biogas system was reduced. So that meant that less work was being done at the household by a woman. Then on the other product that we make is the briquettes. So with the briquettes, our way of distributing the briquettes, we had male salesperson hired who would go out in communities trying to sell the briquettes. However, we realized that the economics of having sales, we were not making enough. We were not able to break even having the sales team hired. So they go back and look at our model and see how do we sell our briquettes efficiently. So we realized that in most of the African settings, you find that every 100 meters you move out from your home, you'll find a woman who's selling vegetables. So we ran a pilot where we work with a number, we began with 50 women who would vend our product. That's a briquette. And then we realized that we went by working with the women who are selling vegetables in the communities, as opposed to having male salespeople moving around trying to sell the briquettes. So we monitored the pilot, actually we call it the Acoustic Model, because we believe that every 100 meters we move within a community, we find someone who's vending vegetables. So we adopted the Acoustic Model where we recruit 50 who started vending our product. Then currently we have 200 women who are selling our product. So in terms of sales success, the Acoustic Model has been able to bring more sales within the company as opposed to working with males. So we are adopting that model. We're trying to scale it up further. And then in terms of the usage of burger system, integrating the slice separation technology ensure that the less work a woman has to spend working on the burger system, the higher the chances of them using the burger system. So with the integration of the gender into our technology and our business model, ensure more and more women, more of our products are being used. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Vianney. And last but not the least, I'll turn over to Trupti.
Hello all. Thanks, Jatin. And thanks to particularly Securing and Waterproof Food team to invite me as a speaker in these sessions, which is very close to my heart. I'm Trupti Jain. I'm from India and I'm a founder of social enterprise Nairita Services. Our innovation Bhungru provides water for irrigations to the farmers so that they can take the 2 crops in a year from no crops. So it not only increase the substantial income of the farmers, but also provide them the dignified life. Nairita Services has installed nearly 500 units in 12 states of India, outside India, Ghana, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and now we are moving forward to Rwanda. And with the support of the government, installed more than 4,000 units, which where it covers the nearly 100 farmers. Regarding the gender integrations, that is the core value of our organizations. In Nairita, we have the women staff from the management level to the field level, and volunteers have, and all the staff members have equal access to services, receives equal treatment, and more importantly, equal participation in the decision-making process. This Securing Water for Food project was to support the smallholder farmers by providing them the Bhungru. It was in India. And through Bhungru, the farmers' income will increase and through increasing the crop seasons and yields. And it will be benefited both the men and women of the family. But Nairita Services decided to give the rights of the Bhungru to the women farmers. And we all know that the access to rights over the resources is very, very difficult task, stage in terms of the gender equality. So we first started with the empowerment, women empowerment. We all know that the first steps of the gender equality is the women empowerment. So we have, we have involved them to empower them. First of all, we have involved them in the decision-making process of every stage of the project, right from the identifications of the location to the management of the Bhungru technologies. And for that, we have also built their capacities. It was very, very difficult process. And I completely agree with my previous speakers about what kind of all barriers while we are working towards the gender equalities. So I'm not repeating it, but I'm just telling you that the first thing that in my area, it will start from the first level of the problems is that women themselves is not ready to believe that they are able to do it. So to convince them, then second step to convince the family members and like go on. But the gathering of the women, I mean, first of all, the gathering of the women for the community meeting we are taking them the level of the ownership of the guru. It's a long journey. But I should say over here that without the SWFF TA support, I mean Jatin, K1 and all the peoples, it would not be possible. And the SWFF team was not only understand us, but accepting our mistakes, providing an opportunity to learn from the failures and move the furthers. And that helps us a lot. Thank you. Over to Jatin.
Thank you, Trupti, and thank you all of the panelists. I think we've got some very diverse view from diverse region. 2-3 themes very important, which is gender is all about, it's not just women, it's both men and women together. I think that's a great point made by a lot of innovators, plus also building a culture in the organization from top to the field level, and also hearing about convincing the woman, I think at the first stage is one of the key aspects. And once you give them that confidence, I think they take over and can do much more than we expect. So I think some great themes, and I think we'll just go in a little bit deeper into these themes with some specific questions. I think first question I have for Mathoni and Lan, because your models are somewhat similar. Both app use, your product has already incorporated. It's easy to use. It does not put any barriers to women. It's just about acclimatizing them. So I think the question is, with respect to your model, how are you able to set some realistic goals related to gender integration? Because as you said, your products are for both men and women. So it was not that you have to make gender as a priority, but how did you realize and how did you set some realistic goals, and how easy or difficult was this to integrate these goals into your culture, right? And I'll go with Mathoni first, and then Lan, you can share your views as
well. Thank you, Jatin. In our case, we have a team of people we call Etiki ambassadors. So you can see them as salespeople, but they're really also knowledgeable about indigenous knowledge. So we deliberately included 70% of them to be women and 30% to be men, because that matches with the population we have of the small-scale farmers. So by extension, it meant that we were able then to reach up to 70% of women and 30% of men, which eventually is the entire population of the people. The second thing is our solution uses the local language. So although many women don't speak the English and whatever formal language that the countries use, then they felt comfortable. We are speaking their language, we are using the terminologies they find on a daily basis. So that's what worked for us, Jatin. Thank you.
Thanks, Mathoni. Lan?
Yes. Yeah, thank you for the question, Jati. So as I mentioned earlier, that the context in Vietnam, and in our organizations, it's pretty easy for us to integrate the gender perspective in our organizational culture and also in our business approach. And in terms of as a startup, so initially our first priority is to get the customer. So initially when the company is open, like whether it's a man or women, as long as we can convince the farmers to use our solutions, that's the first goal. And however, over time, so our company's approach towards the gender issues depends on the context of each area that we are focusing. So its kind of initial approach is to get the first key decision makers in the families to buy into the solutions. And over time, when we integrate, we work closely with the customer
Lan, you may have muted yourself. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So over the times when we get the first family household members to use our solutions, then we get closer to them and get to know more of their family members who also working on the farms, so that to get them to use the solutions as a family. And we think that currently we are working in a Vietnam context, which we are quite pretty familiar with. So the gender integration may not be a problem for us. However, we think in the future when we expand our solutions to other regions, I believe that as we can see in today's discussions in different countries, the gender issues are very diverse, and each local context will need a localized approach towards the integrations of genders into the business models. So I think it would be very useful for organizations like us to have the support in terms of understanding of local context of gender integration when we expand to different regions, which may have a different gender issues compared with our initial or our original countries.
Great, thanks, Lan. And I think this has been one of the key lessons learned from the final evaluation of this program as well, to have more of local context. And Matoni, in 20 seconds, if I can ask you, right, you talked about having local ambassador, local women join as a sales force for you. How difficult has been to get women for these kind of roles in your company, and how have you, has that participation increased over time for you?
Thank you, Jatin. As much as it might sound trivial, actually the digital literacy has been very problematic for us. So sometimes because we do give the salespeople gadgets. So sometimes along the way, 3 days later, the lady will call and say, our phone is not working. The app is not on this phone anymore. So it's been a big problem. So what we've done now, we've incorporated, or we allow them. For example, if you have a younger son or a daughter, we allow them to help, so that at least when they see the app is no longer on my phone, they can check for us. Also, we also learned from SWFF when we're on the project to always to have your eyes on the ground. So we keep checking on them often. So when we send, now we send them focused 2 weeks ago. And I asked the salespeople to check, did they receive the SMSs? The issue is that some of them don't even read SMS, so they don't understand the SMSs. So this follow-up is helping. But in a nutshell, technology and adapting to it by the women in the rural areas is not as easy as we had assumed. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Matoni, for the insight. And now we'll move on to the other few innovators. I think you've already heard from them that core has been to keep women at the center of the model. And I think, Rajkumar, you were talking about making the choice of keeping women-based social enterprise, making a choice of having women at your RRP centers. So how do you keep this conscious choice, and how do you keep afloat with regards to your intervention and keep going with it? And if there have been challenges, how have you pivoted to keep the focus on?
Thanks, Jatin. Yes, I've been talking about two major gender integration business models which we have promoted, thanks to the technical assistance facility, which has also helped us to strengthen these the women-centered enterprise. The first one was I would like to say about the farmers producer companies, the women farmers producer companies, where we consciously made an effort to say that women will play a bigger role in the whole management of this company, the producer companies, and also the agribusiness. And the TA facility helped us to do some specific trainings for them to to build their capacities to manage this enterprise or the whole producer company. The second one was we found that the majority of them, I think about 80% of the workers, at the resource recovery parks where we are producing the co-compost for agriculture through the recycling of black water, which is the fecal sludge, and incorporating it with the wet waste. Since 80% of the women workers were there, as we thought, why not they have the or integrate them into the whole partnership firm or the social enterprise. So that is where it has been challenging there, but still, because the workers themselves felt that that's something new, because they only come for work there and they are daily wage earners, but they would like to run an enterprise, so that is a different thing altogether. But there we were able to handhold them, and we are still it's a little long process, but still it has been a good start, and they've been registered as a partnership firm, and they are doing the business. So 68% women in the farmers producer company and 80% women in the compost partnership firm.
Great. I think that's some great insight, great numbers, Rajkumar. And I've been to the field. I've met those farmers, and I know the key point is they were daily wage earners, and you've almost given them a vision of turning them into local entrepreneurs where they can themselves run that center. And I think that's a great initiative, and hopefully it goes well in the future as well. So I think now I'll just shift focus and ask a question to Trupti. And you've not only made your product accessible to the women, right? So I think my question will be in two parts. One, how have you made any changes to your product over the course of time to make it more suitable for women, because it's a physical product and not many women in India have historically been given the responsibility of irrigation. Normally the men do. So I think that's one. And you've also had a very clear vision of promoting the idea of women having water rights. So you can also talk about any initiative that you've done with local governments to promote this thoughts, not only through your business model, but also in your engagement with the larger ecosystem.
Yes, thanks, Jatin. Answer to your first questions about the technologies variations about for the women farmers. I should tell you that when the Bhungru was evolved, it takes the 6 to 7 years by trial and error methods, because it was a community needs, and we would like to support them. In this process of evolving the Bhungru innovations, the women farmer has played a major role. I mean, with a traditional knowledge, whatever they have about the areas, about the rainfall conditions, about the providing the alternative, and most importantly, patience. They have the patience to do the trial and errors in the things. So it was evolved with the involvement of the women farmers. So we can't find the need of altering something, the technology for the women farmers. I mean, so it is the women farmers technology, I can say that, because they are the major contributions in the terms of evolving the technology. Second thing is why we have thought about given the rights of the water, I mean rights of the Bhungru to the women farmers. Because we all know that most of the agriculture is done, activities done by the women in their own farm. But the fact is that it is unpaid, like household activities. Or of course, their household activities are also unpaid, but along with that, the agriculture activities are also unpaid. So second important aspect is that women doesn't have the land rights. The access to rights over the resources, among them land rights is the most important right. And you can see that in India, the ranges of the land ownership in different states, it's all the 26 states varies from 3% to 13%. So, and I'm sure that this picture is true across the globe. I mean, the ownership of the land rights. So what happens right now that peoples and NGOs and activists are mostly focused on changing the policies, changing, doing the amendments in the act, etc. And as somehow unconsciously we all know that to convince the government is more easy compared to change the social equations at the grassroots level. So I'm not denying that that is not necessary. However, I mean, we see that importance of the good policy and act is that, but we have also seen that the good policy and act, and despite of having that one, the situation what of women remains same at the grassroots level. To discuss it in detail, we need another 4 sessions. So I'm not going in that detail that part, but would like to just the gender pro policy is required, but only policy and act is not enough. So what is, I mean, so we have to, one has to work at the grassroots level to translate it into the reality. Act is there, then the work is not complete. You have to translate it into the realities. When we have innovated the Bhungru, the nature has given us an opportunities. How? Because we have seen that to increase the cost effectiveness of the Bhungru, it should have the joint ownerships of the 5 to 7 farmers. Why? Because one unit is capable to irrigate up to 22 acres of the land. And our smallholder farmers are holding 2 acres, 3 acres of the land. So if the joint ownership of the Bhungru are there, then they can increase the cost effectiveness of the unit at the grassroots level. Now again is the same assumption that it would be easier for the women to work in a group compared to men. I mean, there are some exceptions, but generally it is like that. And specifically in the community where we were working, it is a semi-arid regions located in the India-Pakistan border and desert area. So we have developed the strategies to give the Bhungru rights. Means indirectly we are giving the water rights to the women. And there is no water, no cultivation. So practically says that women also have the access to the economic resources. Not all kind, completely, but it says, I mean, at least that says, I mean, they can participate in the decisions of the household, economic decisions. So
great. No, I think.
And yeah. So that's in the process. And in Gujarat, if the people respects the someone that call, then add the ban, B-E-N, ban word in front of the women name. Now the people calling at them ban means they are getting socially status also uplifted, not only the economy. Thank you, Jatin.
Yep, yep. I think that's a great point. It's about not just providing economic benefit, but also providing power and voice to women in some ways. Which I think I've worked with a lot of social innovators. There's a thing in the ecosystem that innovators have to focus more on economic aspect. But I think we can take a heart from all of your work that it's also within your model. You can also provide power and voice and not just economic benefit. I think one last question for Vianney from Green Heat, and I think women form a large percentage of your actual beneficiaries. So how has your organization over the years developed a robust model to reach? So we know that you reach a lot of customers, but how over the years have you changed, pivoted, and how was the specific customized technical assistance provided to you was of any value to you, Vianney?
Thank you very much. So over the years, we first focused on getting the technology done right, but then we realized that, because we are adding extra burden of water to the woman who does the cooking at home, we needed to address that for us to be successful with that technology, because some of you could have checked on the rate of adoption of biogas in Africa in general. For every 2 digesters that are installed, 1 digester is abandoned because of one reason or the other. But the biggest challenge has been water, So addressing the water issue has been key to us as a company. And then locally, we see ourselves as the leading provider of biogas systems in the country because of that innovation. Then internally at Green Heat, we, after getting the technical assistance from SWFF, we realized that there are certain things like the distribution model for our briquettes, which we had underlooked because the model we used was basically more of a men-centered model. When we switched to a woman-centered model, we realized that we're able to sell out more and sustain the entire model of distribution of our briquettes. So that has been key for us.
Okay. Thanks, Vinny. I think that you've already answered one of the audience question, which was about what are the key incentives for the innovators to make gender integration as part of their portfolio. But I'll come to that. I think before we go to those couple of audience questions, I think one last, a quick, like a rapid fire question for you. Like, what is the one advice, suggestion you would give anyone like supporting social innovators, be it funders, organizations, multilateral agencies, service providers, right? So that you as a social innovator can achieve tangible gender integration in your business models. If you can take 20 seconds each, we'll start with the order as in the picture. Mathoni.
Thank you, Jatin. For me, is that it should be incorporated in the call and the agreement made with the person who is receiving the support, and just demand that this is implemented, because sometimes some people may forget about it. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Rajkumar?
I feel that tangible gender integration is only possible when you are sensitive to the ground situation and have a good understanding of the socio-economic cultural background of your clients or end users. I think that's a very important thing to focus on, I think. Yeah, thank you.
So more local focus, local context, and more regional focus. Great. Lan?
Yeah, it happens that my idea is same as what Rakesh said, is that the deep understanding of the local context of the gender issues.
Great. And Vinny?
Our understanding is more on reviewing the business model and ensuring that gender is taken as a critical partner.
Great. And Trupti? Okay, I think Trupti might be having some problem. I think with that, I'll just move on to this interesting question from the audience, and I think it's applicable to everyone. So maybe I'll do the same thing again, take 20-30 seconds. Each of you answer this because it's critical. And the question is, what are the key incentives for you as an innovator to make gender integration, to integrate gender in your intervention, right? Why do you think that is of advantage to you as an organization? Tony?
Thank you, Jatin. For us, we've been looking around for attractive services that we can bundle up to our premium service. So, for example, we discovered that women need to know where to buy cheaper farm inputs. So we gave them a free market price up over and above what we are giving them. So we use freemium, so to say, based on their need. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Rajkumar?
First of all, what I feel the major incentive which has come is the confidence of the women themselves as a result of the self-help group movement to move forward from just the savings and lending to more into economical activities and things like that. So first of all, their interest in moving forward has been a very good incentive for us to build on, I think. That was the thing. Yeah.
Great. Lan, any thoughts?
Yes, and for Mimosa Tech, we think that the incentive for us to integrate genders into our company's business model is that to expand our customer base. And as I mentioned, that our technology helps to erase a barrier that prevent the women from entering the farming business is a physical requirement farming. So our technologies help the women, and if we can if we target the women into our business model, that's the area where they have even more needs than a man in the farmings, and that's help us to increase our revenue and our customer base.
Great, Vianney.
So basically for us, ours was more sustainability, because for every digester that is not working in the field, we're losing customers. So ensuring that gender is integrated within our model, it's kind of driving us towards sustainability as a company.
Great. And Trupti, if you're there, any thoughts from your side?
Yes, as the basic incentives for us, because the women have the tremendous knowledge. If we not take that knowledge in our community, we will get behind. So that is must require for the sustainability aspects.
Great. I think so. We can actually say integrating into your business model. First, it makes economic sense. I will take your words on it, and not as a consultant advise anyone here. And second, not just economic benefits. I think even if you go with that economic benefit angle, you are doing some positive social impact, which could be a byproduct as well. And I think the other audience question which we have, which are biggest challenges you have faced to incorporate, you all have already touched on it. And we've already answered the recommendation for higher integration of gender in future programming. But I think it's been great having you all on this session. It's like a reunion of old program, and I'm sure the points that you all have brought. It's been a diverse group, a gender balanced panel, and some great learnings for everyone on the call. And I think it just makes this is what the SWFF final evaluation also mentioned, that yes, we did make some stride with respect to gender if you see the journey from 2014 to 2019, but there is a lot to be done, and a lot of your insights that you've given today and also through different innovative feedback, that is what is being incorporated in the new program, Water and Energy for Food. And thanks a lot for taking out time today and sharing these very practical and outcome-focused insight for our listeners. So thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day, evening, night ahead, and then happy festive season coming in the next month. So take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.